I walked into that courtroom hoping for justice. What I got was humiliation. They were laughing, all three of them, my husband, Marcus, his mother, Catherine, and Devon, the woman he left me for. They sat there together, like I was the joke, like my pain was entertainment. I watched Marcus whisper something to Devon, and they both smiled. I watched his mother lean in and shake her head at me like I was pathetic. They thought they'd already won. They thought I was too broken to stand. But they didn't know what was coming. In the next few moments, everything would change. The courtroom would go silent, their smiles would vanish, and a judge would say the words that would restore my faith in justice. This is that story. My name is Alicia. For 6 years, I believed in my marriage. Not naively, I genuinely believed that Marcus and I had built something real, something solid. We met through friends. We dated for 2 years before getting serious. When Marcus proposed, he told me, "You make me want to be a better man." I believed him completely. Marcus came from money. His family was prominent in our city. His mother, Catherine, was a successful businesswoman. I thought that meant they understood responsibility. I thought that meant they understood loyalty. I was wrong about everything. The first crack appeared about 2 years into our marriage. Marcus started coming home late. He said it was work. He said his business partner was demanding. I accepted this because I loved Marcus and I trusted him. But then I noticed Devon. Devon worked at Marcus's company. She was younger. She was pretty. And whenever I came to Marcus's office, Devon always seemed to be there, always laughing at Marcus's jokes, always finding excuses to stand close to him. I mentioned it to Marcus once. I said, "That girl Devon seems to be around a lot." Marcus laughed it off. "Oh, Devon, she's just eager, new to the company. You're being paranoid, Alicia." So I stopped saying anything. I told myself I was being the crazy, jealous wife. I told myself to trust Marcus. But something in my gut was screaming that I shouldn't. 3 years into our marriage, I found out. Marcus left his phone on the kitchen counter. It buzzed with a message. I wasn't snooping, I just glanced. The message was from Devon. It said, "Miss you already." A simple message, but my stomach dropped. I picked up the phone. My hands were shaking. I opened the conversation between Marcus and Devon. What I found was a timeline of betrayal. Months of messages, months of them making plans, months of them lying about where they were. The messages weren't even apologetic, they were boastful. Devon wrote, "She has no idea." Marcus responded, "She won't find out." I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was suffocating in my own home. When Marcus came home that night, I confronted him. And do you know what Marcus said? Marcus said, "It's not that serious, Alicia. It's just Devon. It doesn't mean anything." That was when I realized that Marcus wasn't sorry. Marcus wasn't ashamed. Marcus just didn't think I was worth being faithful to. So I made a decision. I was going to make sure that Marcus paid for that disrespect in every way possible. I told Marcus I wanted a divorce. I told him to leave. But Marcus didn't take me seriously. Marcus actually laughed. Marcus said, "Alicia, don't be dramatic. We can work through this. People have affairs. It's not a big deal." I realized in that moment that Marcus was living in a different reality than me. In Marcus's reality, my pain was negotiable. In Marcus's reality, his betrayal was something we could just move past. When I refused to back down, Marcus called his mother. Catherine came over, and what Catherine said to me still haunts me. Catherine told me, "Alicia, you're overreacting. Marcus is a man. Men have needs. Devon was just a moment of weakness. You should be grateful Marcus chose you." I remember staring at Catherine in absolute shock. This woman, this successful businesswoman, was telling me that I should accept my husband's infidelity? That's when I realized that Marcus didn't come from a family with values. Marcus came from a family with entitlement, and they were going to protect Marcus no matter what, even if it meant humiliating me in the process. So I stopped arguing with words. I started preparing for court. I hired the best divorce lawyer I could afford. Her name was Victoria, and she was ruthless. Victoria told me something I'll never forget. She said, "Alicia, you don't need anger in court. You need facts. You need facts. You need to show the judge not just what Marcus did, but who Marcus is." So that's what we gathered. We had the messages. We had bank records showing Marcus spending money on Devon. We had hotel receipts. We had everything. More importantly, we documented Marcus's behavior. We documented how he and his mother had tried to manipulate me into accepting the affair. We documented how Marcus's company had a policy against employee relationships and how he'd violated it. I didn't do this to destroy Marcus. I did this to protect myself. I did this to ensure that the court would see the truth, not whatever story Marcus and his family would construct. When Victoria told me we were ready for trial, I felt something shift in me. For the first time since discovering the affair, I felt like I had power. Not power to hurt Marcus, power to demand justice. The night before the trial, I didn't sleep, but when I walked into that courtroom the next morning, I was ready. I walked into that courtroom and immediately saw them, Marcus, Devon, and Catherine, sitting together like a united front. They didn't look concerned, they looked cocky. Marcus was wearing an expensive suit that I recognized. I'd bought him that. Devon was dressed provocatively, like she was going to a date instead of a courtroom. And Catherine had her arms crossed, looking down at me with contempt. I took my seat on the opposite side of the room. I could feel them looking at me. I could feel the weight of their confidence that the judge would side with them. The courtroom was cold. It smelled of old wood and legal documents. I'd never been inside a courtroom before. I'd never imagined I'd be sitting in one, fighting for my dignity against the man I'd promised to love forever. But I was here now, and I wasn't backing down. As we waited for the judge to enter, Marcus started. He whispered something to Devon and they both laughed. Not quietly, not discreetly. They laughed like I wasn't sitting 15 feet away. I kept staring forward. I didn't react. Then Devon leaned over to Marcus and said something loud enough for me to hear. She said, "She looks like she's going to cry." They both laughed again. Catherine didn't participate in the mockery directly, but she sat there with her arms crossed, looking at me like I was pathetic, like I was the one who should be ashamed. I felt my chest tighten. I felt the tears starting to form in my eyes. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to scream at them. I wanted to tell them that they were disgusting, that they were cruel, that what they were doing was evil. But I didn't. Instead, I took a deep breath. I placed my hand on the table, and I reminded myself of why I was there. I wasn't there to make a scene. I was there for justice, and if I let them get in my head, I would lose that. So I sat there, quiet, composed, while they mocked me, and I waited for the judge to come. The judge entered, Judge Morrison, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. As Victoria presented our case, Judge Morrison sat completely still, taking notes. She didn't react to anything. She didn't nod. She didn't frown. She just listened. When it came time for Marcus's attorney to present their defense, he tried to paint a picture of a misunderstanding. He said Marcus had made a mistake, but that it was a personal matter. He said I was overreacting. He said the court shouldn't interfere in a marriage dispute. Judge Morrison listened. Then she spoke. "Let me be clear," Judge Morrison said, her voice cutting through the courtroom like a blade. "What I've heard today is not a misunderstanding. What I've heard is a pattern of deliberate deception, a man who betrayed his wife, a mother who enables that betrayal, and a young woman who participated in the humiliation of another woman." I watched Marcus's face change. I watched Devon's smirk disappear. I watched Catherine's expression shift from contempt to shock. More concerning than the infidelity, Judge Morrison continued, is the defendant's behavior in this courtroom. The defendant and his associates have shown no remorse. They have shown no respect for this process. They have mocked the plaintiff in front of this bench. The courtroom was completely silent. That tells me everything I need to know about the defendant's character. This is not a man capable of honoring his commitments. This is not a woman capable of respecting boundaries. And this family has shown a disturbing pattern of entitlement and disrespect for others. Judge Morrison looked directly at Marcus. She didn't look away. The plaintiff, Judge Morrison said, is entitled to a significant settlement. She is entitled to full custody of any shared assets, and she is entitled to move forward with her life knowing that the court sees her, the court believes her, and the court will not allow her to be punished for the defendant's moral failings. Marcus stood up like he was going to say something. His attorney pulled him back down. Devon's hands were shaking. Catherine looked like she might be sick. And me? I finally felt like I could breathe. Judge Morrison ruled in my favor on every single count. I received 50% of our shared assets. I received the house. I received enough support from Marcus to maintain my lifestyle while I rebuilt my life. And most importantly, I received validation. I received the validation that what Marcus did was wrong, that what Devon did was wrong, that what Catherine enabled was wrong. As we walked out of the courtroom, Marcus tried to approach me. His attorney held him back. I didn't even look at him. I walked past him like he was invisible. In the courthouse hallway, I let myself cry, not tears of pain, tears of relief. Tears of knowing that someone with authority, someone with power had seen the truth and had spoken it out loud in a room full of people. For months, I had questioned myself. I had wondered if I was being unfair to Marcus. I had wondered if I was overreacting. Marcus and Catherine had worked hard to make me question my own perception of reality. But the judge had confirmed what I knew to be true. I was not the problem. They were. That validation changed everything. A year after the trial, I ran into Marcus at a store. He didn't recognize me at first, and when he did, he tried to smile like nothing had happened. I didn't smile back. I simply nodded and kept walking. Because here's what I've learned. Justice isn't always about revenge. Justice isn't about making someone hurt as much as they hurt you. Justice is about having your truth be seen and validated by someone with power to enforce it. Standing in that courtroom and hearing Judge Morrison speak those words, words that confirmed my reality, that honored my pain, that held Marcus accountable, that was more powerful than any revenge could ever be. Marcus is still Marcus. He's still shallow. He's still self-serving. But he can't hurt me anymore, because I don't allow him into my life anymore. Catherine still believes she's right. She's still defending Marcus, but her credibility was shattered the moment Judge Morrison called out her enablement. And Devon? Devon became insignificant the moment the judge ruled against her. She lost the power to affect my life. I thought I wanted Marcus to suffer. But what I really needed was to know that I wasn't crazy, that my perception was correct, that my pain was valid. The courtroom gave me that. The judge gave me that. Now I'm rebuilding my life. I'm learning who I am without Marcus. I'm discovering that my strength isn't just about surviving betrayal. It's about thriving after it. I walk through the world knowing that I stood up for myself. I walked into that courtroom not knowing if I'd win, but I did it anyway, and I won. That's the real victory. Not just the money, not just the house, but the knowledge that I have the courage to demand justice for myself, that I have the strength to face the people who hurt me, that I have the dignity to refuse to be broken by their cruelty. My name is Alicia, and this is the story of the day I finally felt heard.